there's like trauma bonding. So like it made you tough, and you were kind of going through you were in the trenches with your colleagues, so it goes deep. You think you watch some video on Instagram of some diet or something. That sort of dieting and stuff is not for us. We are athletes, and if you're doing, several performances in a week, your hormone levels, cortisol, your stress levels, the adrenaline that's coursing through your blood and through your veins, it's having actually like this huge impact on your overall health. And fueling properly, it's so important. Even your peak best, you can't actually maintain that through the whole year after year. It's actually impossible. It feels like, this is my big break. And to go from 100 to 0, for it to like that to just be taken away from you, it was a huge wake-up call. And I matured a lot through that experience, because I realized like the toxic body image, eating stuff just took me out. Yeah. And it took me out for a long time. I think you give all of that power away when you try to please someone else or do it for them.
Precious, thank you so much for joining me here today. It's so great to have you here. I can't wait to speak with you about many things. I always like to start at the very beginning of your journey. How did dance come into your life?
Sure. Well, thanks for having me and including me in the work that you do.
Yeah, no, it's my pleasure.
Yeah, it feels really good to be here and to finally meet you as well.
Yeah.
I'm such a big fan.
Thank you.
So how did it all start? I know it might sound like cliche, but I actually think it was like my calling or like my destiny. Like I always just loved music, and I loved dancing around at home whenever there was music playing. But I think my mom kind of noticed I wasn't like particularly graceful or like coordinated or anything. I think so she signed me up for dance lessons when I was really young, like 6 or 7.
Jazz, right?
Mm-hmm.
Initially.
Yeah. So I was like a competition jazz dancer, like jazz, tap, like lyrical. So I did that for a couple years, and then, which was like so fun. Highly recommend. But then one of my teachers sort of said, "Oh, your daughter really is taking to like the lyrical work. Maybe she wants to try like real ballet classes and stuff." So my mom found a ballet studio, and I went. I had a Russian teacher.
How was that?
It was so like, I just remember it being like so hard. I remember it was like in the peak of summer. And I just remember like I'd never sweat so much in my life. I mean, I must have been like 9 years old or something. I'd never worked so hard in my life. Like I was using muscles I didn't know existed. I remember like leaving really frustrated, and like I was like, I don't know, I like didn't like it.
Yeah, I can relate.
But I remember my mom kind of being like, I think my mom also kind of was like, "Oh my God, like I've never seen her like sweating like this and like having to try so hard for something." And my mom was kind of like, "Well, don't give it, like, don't just like give up yet. Like maybe let's go back and like, let's just try it out." And I don't know exactly how it happened, but pretty quickly I like fell in love with it. And I just started like renting loads of books from the library. And this is like before YouTube.
Yeah.
There wasn't YouTube when I was a young kid, guys. So yeah, and there was like VHS and DVDs at the library, and like that's how you would like go and find out about the world.
I know. Simpler times.
Yeah, simpler times. And I just remember like just renting everything and looking at everything, and just it blew my mind open. And I was like, whatever this art form is, I love it, and I want to know more about it, and I want to do it. But up until that point, I didn't know that there was like a career path, or that it was something you could do professionally, until like a couple years later.
I think that's already very mature of you to be like reading a lot about it. You know, I think so many students nowadays, they just really just look at variations, and they don't know a lot about the art form itself. Did you feel compelled to do that, or was there importance around it? Were you told that you need to know about it?
No one told me. I think it was kind of intuitive, and again, this is pre-YouTube, so this was, and I didn't have a personal computer at that time either. I think it was that we had like a dial-up desktop at home that I didn't really use, because it was just I was a bit too young.
Yeah.
So that was really, going to the library was where I had access to the most amount of information. So it was really intuitive. I wanted to know more, so I got more out of like books. And yeah, it's so interesting to think about now, but getting your hands on some of the books that were written in like the 70s and the 80s about dance, it's really hard to find some of those books. There's like such a plethora of knowledge out there that we don't necessarily have access to in the same way, because it's different reading about something than watching something. It's a different type of obviously like learning.
No, I think it's so cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
in ballet schools, I mean, at Vaganova now, they're placing like huge importance on it. And whenever I teach people, I'm like, do you know where this ballet is, where this variation is from? Do you know the story? And often the answer is no, which is kind of terrifying. So I think, yeah, students nowadays should be much more educated in that. And then after this, you went to Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Tell us
this is
about that.
when we kind of found out that there was a career path to being a professional. And by the time I was 10 years old, I kind of, my mind was made up. And I was like, I'm going to be a ballerina when I grow up.
I always think that's crazy about ballerinas. Like at 10, we know.
Yeah. And it's so funny. Like for some reason, some people, they try it out and they just get like obsessed and you just love it.
Yeah.
And then some people try it out and they just let it go and they're like, oh, no.
What did you personally fall in love with? Was it the work, or did something like a performance particularly inspire you?
I think it was the work is what I fell in love with first. Because I didn't see like my first ballet until, I had already started some ballet lessons.
Mm.
And then I think I saw the Joffrey Ballet do the Nutcracker. It would have been like the first time I saw a real ballet done by a professional company.
Yeah.
So it was really like the studio work that I think I enjoyed the most, like digging into something, understanding the technique, working on something, seeing your progress over time, and then later on kind of discovering how you could then express something artistically as well.
Mm.
Yeah, I think I enjoyed the process.
Yeah, no, I'm exactly the same. And I sympathize with the experience of you kind of hating it initially with that Russian coach, because when I was 9, I had one, and we had a private lesson, and she slapped my feet and she was screaming and I was so red, the reddest I'd ever been in my life. And I also said to my mum, I never want to go back to that. And then a week later, I decided, for whatever reason, to do it again.
Mm-hmm.
And then, yeah, the rest is history.
Yeah. Oh, what is that? I don't know what that is.
Yeah, maybe something not so healthy. So yes, you went to Toronto, and after 3 years, when you were 14, you were discovered or selected by Roland Vogel. Is that correct?
More or less.
Yeah.
I actually stayed at Canada's National for about 2 years, and then I spent like a year at home. But again, I kind of had this idea that I wanted to dance in Europe from really early on.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to have like access to the best training in the world. I don't know where all these ideas, I think they came from. At this point, YouTube would have come out. And so then I started like discovering like, oh, ballet in Europe and ballet in Russia and all this stuff. And so I started to, I think like the cogs were turning.
Yeah.
And I was like, I want to go to Europe and I want their training. So we had heard about this academy, Princess Grace Academy. And I was like, Mom, like, can we find a way to go there? I think we, auditioned and found a way. I think I did the summer program and then got a spot at the school.
How was that?
It was incredible. Still to this day, Roland Vogel, one of the most important teachers I ever had. So passionate, and so it was a more like French technique training that he was offering. But it was his attention to detail and the way that I think he could see the shifts in everyone's like mind or body. He was very, very like acute sense of, he's very perceptive. So I think I really loved what he gave us. Was really an incredible teacher.
I actually have huge respect for him because
so you know him.
Well, I went to, before Vaganova, I was also like shopping around a bit, like where do I want to go? And I went to the summer school and Roland was there, and they also offered me a place there, but it was at the same time as Vaganova, so I decided to go there. But I remember seeing him like before he was teaching us, doing class himself, and like really like sweating profusely. And I just remember his beautiful feet, like the way that he worked. Yeah, and I was just like, wow, I've got to learn from him. Did the school give you anything in particular, that's kind of foundational to your technique or artistry that you take with you now?
Yeah, I think so like attention to like footwork and like the use of feet is like, it's something that really stuck with me, like you noticed as well. And I think it really gave me, one thing he always said was, it doesn't matter if you have Sylvie Guillem's feet or not, or super archy feet, but he was like, it's all about how you use your feet. And like he really focused a lot on that and really gave the girls like a lot of great instruction, intuition around how to articulate your metatarsals and your feet. So that's probably the biggest takeaway. And then I think Yeah, also like speedy footwork. That was trained really well. But again, I had this idea in my head and I was like, I want to train in Russia. And so yeah, the opportunity presented itself and I think I got accepted into the school in Moscow. And I was like, well, I'm leaving. And I remember it was kind of I was kind of sad to leave there. I think they were sad to like kind of like see me leave. You know, it can always seem like a little personal and stuff when dancers decide to leave a teacher or a coach or a, you know, and it's like it's so not. I think it's everyone's just chasing perfectionism and chasing
and trying to
whatever
get as
their
good
idea.
as they possibly can
Yeah,
in their
in their
idea.
head. Yeah. And now it's so funny. I always say this retrospectively, if I could go back and do it all again, I think I would have stayed at Canada's National all the way through.
Oh, really?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. Why is that?
Because I think it was such an established, out of all the academies and schools I went to, the package of what they were offering, I didn't understand it at the time.
Yeah.
I was just kind of like, Mom, I need this. Mom, I want that. Mom, I want this training. And she was like, okay, like whatever you think is going to get you to being the best. But when I think of it now, I'm like, the package of what Canada's National Ballet School was offering was absolutely world class, from studio to academics and the boarding houses and everything. It was really probably the highest quality in terms of like the package of what they were kind of selling. As like a ballet school was absolutely world class. And I'm like, it probably would have been worth it to have stayed 8 years in one place.
You're obviously a very versatile dancer, like from your roots of doing jazz, tap, lyrical, and then learning under quite different systems, really. Like you obviously started kind of Russian or very Russian, and then more French, and then you went to Bolshoi. Do you feel that really benefited you having a bit of both?
Oh yeah, definitely. For sure. I think it's made me very versatile. And I think by the time I had finished my training and entered into the company, because I had already had access to such a variety of training, I felt very prepared to take on multiple styles. Like whatever choreographer came in, I felt like I could just adapt and go with the flow of, and I wasn't like stuck in like one way of thinking.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it definitely really benefited me.
I think the difference is you had very, very good teachers in all of those things.
Yeah, I was very lucky. Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about the Bolshoi for you. How was that experience in terms of training, atmosphere?
It was tough. It was really, really tough. Which is exactly what I think I wanted and what I thought I needed. Now I'm kind of like, oh my God, no, I just need support to do good dancing.
Like we all want.
Yeah. But yeah, it toughened me up. I always kind of had a thin skin, so I think I needed some toughening up, which it definitely.
What do you mean by toughening up in terms of?
I was a very sensitive kid, like an easy crier, just like hypersensitive. So I think I needed some toughening up to be able to like survive in the real world as well.
Yeah.
And I think it definitely meant that going into like a company, I think I was prepared to handle company life because I'd already kind of gone through probably the hardest training I was ever going to go through, and like kind of the most challenging circumstances I was going to go through. Yeah.
What made that really hard? I think
one, the level is so high.
Yeah.
So much more competitive, I think, because the art form it's so highly regarded and the standard is so high. So trying to like meet that standard was like the toughest thing I'd ever tried to do. I think that was kind of like the biggest contributor to it.
Were there many foreigners there at the time?
Yeah, they had pretty recently started like a foreign like program. International program, so that they could have like an international kind of class running alongside the Russian classes. And I spent like 1 year in the international program, and then I was kind of like, I want to be in the Russian classes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I had actually my teacher, Sirova, in the end, she had actually taught the summer program I did when I was like 10 years old. It was like the first year of like the Bolshoi summer program in New York. Well, what it is now is the Bolshoi summer program in New York. I think it's still going. But the very, very first year of that, it was like in Massachusetts, and it was like 5 girls. and like a teacher from the academy who was my teacher, Rina
Intense.
Sirova. Yeah. And she was incredible. She was very tough, but she was very caring. And again, it's like someone who's like really like Roland, like someone who's just like so passionate about the art form and really like cares about their students. So then, yeah, I met her again. I found her again when I went to the academy, and I was like the right age to be in her class. And I think because she knew me from when I was 10,
Yeah.
she was like, okay, you can be in my Russian class of girls.
That's great.
Yeah, it was really good.
What would you say the definitive differences were from the French style, or even just the Princess Grace School, to the Bolshoi? You know, was it a bit of a shock when you went there, for example? Because I was shocked when I went to Viganova from the Royal Ballet School.
Yeah.
Just completely different.
Yeah. Yeah, it was definitely a shock. And in every aspect, it was a culture shock. And even thinking of like Canada's National Ballet School would have been like kind of RAD based kind of system.
Yeah.
Which I felt really, which is also I think why I was so keen and eager to like be doing more. And I felt like because they really are building your foundation up from square one, I felt like so held back or limited, and I was kind of like I want more. I want over splits. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, like it's so crazy now, and after working in like a ballet company like EMB, who has access to like all this sports science and all this stuff, and you like learn, and I'm like, I never do a split before I start class. Like,
no.
You know, I'm like, unless I've like properly warmed up. But it's like I didn't know that, and I can't tell you how many times when I was like 16 years old, trying to like do an oversplit first thing in the morning, and how many times I must have like pulled my groin and like just not knowing what I was doing essentially. Which is it's like it's so funny to like go back and like realize like, oh, I was so eager, so keen, but I really didn't know what I was doing.
Well, lessons learned.
Yeah.
And then so after all this, you joined EMB in 2014? Yeah. Tell us how that happened. How did you get your contract?
So I did Prix de Lausanne in 2014. Again, this was like a part of my whole plan that I had for myself, which I kind of knew when I first discovered like Prix de Lausanne would like stream the competition. And so I like see it on YouTube, and I was like, oh, I'm going to do that competition when I'm 18 so that I can kind of like audition for every company all at once and hopefully get a job and everything. So yeah, luckily the year I did it in 2014, Tamara Roja had just taken over English National Ballet. So she was still like a relatively, I think she became director in 2012. So 2014. So she was really like on my radar. And also my mom as well, my mom was like really there supporting me the whole time, and was always like up to date on like latest ballet news and stuff.
Yeah.
So the competition ended up working out really well for me, which I was like so lucky. And when I got there as well, there was a couple people from Princess Grace, like of teachers, coaches, and because they would have had a student or two doing it, and people from Canada as well. And so it was amazing to to be in the ballet bubble, and for everyone to reconnect with like old people who I'd been in touch with through like all of my training. And so yeah, I was so lucky. I was a prize winner, and my mom kind of said this to me. She kind of went, I think you should put English National Ballet down as one of the companies you'd really want to go to. And actually at that point, I really didn't know anything about ENB at all. Like I really didn't know anything about it. It wasn't really like on my radar at that point, but my mom was like, she was like, I think I just read their new director. It's a woman, this woman, Tamara Rojo. And she was like, I think you should consider it because it's one of the only companies that has a female director. She was like, put it down. She's like, I just think it's a good idea. And
did she say why, other than it's a female director?
She was like, I think your experience might go a little differently if you have a female director.
Interesting.
I knew exactly what she meant. She didn't have to say anymore. I knew exactly what she meant. And she was like, I think maybe you'll be able to just focus on your dancing, essentially is what she was saying. And it was like a leap of faith because I'd never been to London before. I really didn't know anything about the company. My mom luckily she was next to me and could ask all the right questions. Like, do you guys tour a lot? None of this had even crossed my mind.
Yeah.
Like I was just kind of like, oh
yeah.
I can work at a ballet company. And I think because also they were offering a corps de ballet contract, whereas some of the other places were offering like traineeship. And so we were kind of like, let's go for full.
Yeah.
Instead of spending 1 or 2 years as a trainee, let's just go straight to that.
You seem to have a really strong vision from like the get-go, from your early age to like, that's what I'm doing, that's where I'm going, I'm going to be in Prix de Lausanne.
Yeah.
You know, did you ever tell me a little bit more about your mindset growing up, like that belief in yourself? Did you ever doubt that vision that you
No,
had?
not at all.
No.
I mean, it's funny. It's a blessing and a curse to be so, I don't know what you call this kind of mindset where you're just like, you're so clear on like
Sure
what you
of
want to do.
yourself, really.
Sure of yourself. And yeah, like I
You
say, it's a
trust.
blessing and a curse because it also means like sometimes I'm not willing to like compromise, and I can be kind of stubborn. Um, and it's only retrospectively I can think back where I'm like, oh, I was so like hell bent on doing things my way. I had no peripheral vision about like letting in any other opinions or any other like strategies or changing course or changing path. Actually, sometimes there might be another plan in place, or you can't control everything. I'm definitely like a bit of a control freak by nature, but as you grow up and you kind of learn like it's not all under your control anyways.
Yeah.
You know, what job you might be offered, what casting you're gonna have, how other people see you. It's not in your control anyways. So you have to open yourself up to things unfolding.
I think that's
as they
very
do.
difficult as a ballet dancer. I think a lot of us are major perfectionists. You know, I'm the same. Like I found it actually really difficult when things did not go to plan, like to cope with that. But I think a part of it getting slightly older now, like in our 30s, you kind of realize that things will happen as they happen, and living with slightly more sense of go with the flow is a happier place to be in. You can still be ambitious, you know, but you don't need to be as controlled with your mindset. Having said that, though, I think your self-belief in that way, would you agree in thinking that because you were so hell-bent on the thing you wanted, that almost attracted that to happen? You know, because did you fully believe it was going to happen?
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I get what you mean. It's kind of like, I don't know, like
Law
law
of
of attraction.
Yeah.
Which I'm totally into like a little bit of like woo-woo thinking about stuff. But I think it's also because I just really deeply believe if you work hard for something, like you will find success in some way. There's a really great book written by Malcolm Gladwell called Grit. And he like does this whole in-depth examination around is it talent or is it hard work that leads to success? And ultimately hard work will win almost every time over talent. And there's so many factors that go into it. Sometimes I think about like, okay, like the biggest pop stars in the world, are they the absolute best singers in the world? Or is it a combination of having like the right team of people around them and the right branding and the right opportunities and like luck that positions you to make it to the top and to become the absolute like biggest pop star? It's like there's so many factors and it's not just pure talent.
No.
So I think that's what really has driven me from the get-go. Is I was sort of like, I don't have to have like the perfect like physique or proportions or like or whatever. I was sort of like, if I work really hard for it, of course I'll land on my feet. I think that I really believe that deep down. Yeah,
that's
so
great.
I don't think you can go wrong. Hard work pays off in some way or another.
I think a lot of like the generation now, the younger generation now, really once again struggle with this with social media, constant comparison with the ideals. You know, what they should look like, how their turnout should be, what their feet should look like. So yeah, I think they should all listen to that, what you just said, because I think there's room for all of us to succeed, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, you have to put a lot of hard work in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I believe that as well. There's something that I've like come to learn with like shifting my own mindset is there's enough space for everyone to shine and to have their moment. And there's space for everyone to do well.
Tell us about when you arrived at English National Ballet, because obviously you hadn't been to London before. A big step for you, really. How was it?
It's been amazing. Like I love this city still. But really, I think I was so lucky. Like I came to London, really, I think it was like the peak of, maybe it was the peak of London. Maybe other people might have another opinion who were here at different
So it's gone
times.
downhill since.
No, that's not what I'm saying. But it was, I really believe it was like the best city in the world. Like we traveled and toured a lot internationally, and we did some incredible tours around the world. But like the energy in London was, it was incredible. I remember up until the pandemic, my social calendar was just, there was just always something to do. The city was always a buzz, like every night. Like every night of the week, it was just like a light. Like it was just buzzing with energy. Up like pretty much up until the pandemic, it was best city in the world for sure.
Yeah, I love it. I'm not biased or anything, but
But no, it's like it's the city's changed. It has changed.
Yeah.
I don't want to be negative. I'm like, you really, I think what you breathe life into, like whatever you say, you're like breathing life into it. And so if you believe it's the best city in the world and everyone here is saying it's the best city in the world, like that energy will stay.
Yeah.
But the second people stop saying that, like you're and if I say like what I may be really thinking or feeling,
Yeah.
like, oh, I've seen the energy shift post pandemic, as everyone's seen, like in the whole world. I'm like, it's making it so much more true, and it breathes life into it, and then it takes the positive energy out, which
Yeah.
is like, yeah, depends on how you think about things, but
No, I
think
totally agree. I think it's the same
truth
with anything.
yeah,
Yeah.
you speak truth to like the world, like I don't know, it puts like more or less truth into it, whatever you say.
Yeah. You've been at EMB a while now. You've really gone up through the ranks steadily. How do you feel different as a dancer or even a person from when you first arrived as a new professional to now a very experienced dancer? Big question.
It's a big question. In some ways, I feel the exact, like, I still feel like I'm 12 years old or 19. But in many ways, I feel I've grown so much and matured so much. I definitely, one thing that you get from experience, just the experience of like time living, and then experiences in my performance career, time on stage, time in the studio, is an overall sense of security within yourself and feeling like I can trust myself a lot more. I think when I was 19, when I first joined the company, you feel like so much more insecure. Like I remember, you feel like everyone's judging you or watching you in class when you're new, and I remember just feeling like quite like unsure of myself, a bit timid, a bit quite insecure. But I think like that's one thing that like totally shifts over the course of like a decade, is all those hours of experience, and like I said, well, as when we were chatting before we turned the mics on, there's a sense of security that you build within yourself over time through experience that can't be shaken by anyone or like anything external from me, whether it's a colleague, a coach, a critic. There's a sense of inner stability that kind of can't be shaken because you've gone through so much, and it's absolutely invaluable, I think, as a human being.
I think getting through that, though, that whole period is the challenge, because like we were discussing earlier, when you're fresh in a company and you are insecure and you are very receptive to what someone says to you, you can be really affected by some kind of criticism or even just, I don't know, atmosphere, depending on, the company, etc. But how does one, or how did you, if ever that happened to you, push past that period of, getting over whatever criticism or, I don't want to say toxic atmosphere, but like some kind of tense atmosphere? How did you move through that period to then knowing who you are, basically?
Yeah, of course there's highs and lows, and there are periods that really challenged me, like either like mentally or psychologically, that I had to get over. Gosh, it's been such a crazy journey. I definitely discovered meditation a long time ago, around 2016. I think there's so much going on politically that I remember like doom scrolling so much, and I just had like so much anxiety. But like that's when I discovered meditation, and that really carried over into into my dance professional career. Like before performances, if I'm feeling really nervous, it's an incredible. I think it's an incredible tool. Just like discovering mindfulness, and so that was a huge tool. Leaning on like your friends and your family, having like a healthy balance and relationship with like friends and family and people who love you. That's super important. I think you have to I know like as dancers sometimes you want to like pour everything into like your art form, but finding a balance in life and realizing like you're also a human being who has like greater needs than just like your art, and a wider life than just your art. And so striking that balance and giving energy to the other parts of yourself and building up who you are as a human, as a whole human, it's like so important. And I'll always talk about this because the career is it's really short and it goes fast, but it's long, and there's going to be times when you're disappointed with how things have unfolded. Either you're casting or you get an injury that's super disappointing, or like, and it can really take a big toll on you. But the thing that I've kind of learned is like the time is going on and it's moving forward with or without you, and you can stay stuck feeling disappointed, and you can stay stuck being devastated by like the injury that you're in. Like the sun's gonna rise tomorrow and it's gonna set and it's gonna keep going, and either you stay stuck in that kind of tough period, or in that like like that painful emotion, or you dig yourself out of it, and you have to decide to do that for yourself. So yeah, I think that's making sure that you have a balanced life will help you to get out of those negative emotions a lot faster, feeling like disappointed by
Was that something you always had? Did you always have balance, or was that again something that you developed basically?
I had to develop it.
Yeah. What pushed you to be like, you know what, I need more balance in life. This is kind of killing me. The pandemic.
Yeah. I think I was slowly like inching toward having a more balanced life, like very slowly, but still. If you had asked me, oh, like, who are you? I would have been like, oh, I'm a ballerina. Like, I'm 100% ballerina. Like 100%. That's 100% who I am.
Yeah.
Which is nuts. So the pandemic really shook me because I really had to grapple with the idea that what if you can no longer be a ballerina? What if that is not who you are anymore? And it was like a whole identity crisis of like, who am I without this? Who am I without performance? Who am I without like, accolades of a great show? And so yeah, I really had to separate and detach myself from that part of like my persona that I had kind of built up, so much. And yeah, I think that was one of the greatest things, I think, was going through that kind of challenging period, because it forced me to realize that it is not everything. It is not the end all be all.
Do you think there's a period, when you're younger or when you're training or fresh in the company, that balance won't necessarily happen, and that's okay? I've seen so many things where people say balance is overrated. We need to really push in order to get what we want. Or can we have balance throughout the entire process?
I think you can have balance throughout the entire process. I think it depends on where your priorities lie, and what your values are. I think you can have balance from start to finish. And I believe that you'd be a much happier person through the process of it all if you find the right balance for yourself. Because I think I discovered I was really holding myself back, I think, by being so obsessive and so this is everything. I was actually, I think, hindering my own development as an artist and achieving like my highest level technically and artistically, because I think what also comes with being so like you have to like your whole life should just be this, is it also means that you're so attached to it that, again, anything like an injury or disappointment, or you're so competitive and you're so possessive over your roles, over and it's again, like there's certain things that are going to be a little bit out of your control, the person at the front of the room or
Yeah.
your boss or your director, they're ultimately moving the chess pieces around, for the success of the company or for, or whatever. And it's not all about you either. So kind of realizing that, which sometimes when you're in that mindset of thinking like, oh, I have to give everything to this, and I'll only find success if I'm, if I restrict myself on all other aspects of life and, focus 1,000% on this art form, you're also really, really limiting yourself, because it also means, okay, well, yeah, what if the pandemic hits and you have no other, what else are you going to do?
Yeah.
Or what if, you get this injury and you can't do the art form, and, is it for 3 months, 6 months, a year, forever? Who knows? You know, that's why you have to strike the balance
Yeah.
in life, because you're a human being before you're a dancer. We're really lucky to get to do it. And I think I've also now discovered I'm the happiest I've ever been going to work and going to the studio, because I'm like, every day that I'm healthy and I get to do this is a good day, and it's all the other things don't matter. I don't have to be the best in the class. You can get really attached to that mindset of like, I have to be the best in the class. And it's like, no, you don't actually. You don't have to be the best, because you're not the best, because there's someone better. You don't have to be the prettiest, because there's someone prettier. But like, if your energy is like so stuck and you're harping on that, you won't be your best. You
Yeah.
won't be your most beautiful self. You won't be your healthiest self, So I think that's why you got to strike that balance. Yeah.
From the dancers I've spoken to, I think that is a common denominator, is they really have that balance in life, whether it's just they have other interests, and I think, like you said, that keeps you a happier person and gives them a much longer lasting career with it. They stick with it longer because they actually allow themselves to enjoy it and other things. They're not so fixed in their identity with the work that they do. So yeah, I think everyone can learn from that. So with your time at English National Ballet, obviously, and your strong vision, your kind of vision in life, you've moved up the ranks very steadily. Was there any moment you were frustrated at the speed you were being promoted at all?
A little bit. There definitely would have been times, I think, when I had what seemed like a really great season, really great casting, really great, kind of feedback, and I thought I had done really well. There were probably a couple times where I was hoping for a promotion and maybe didn't get one. But again, I think it's a part of like maturing and realizing like you don't have control over that stuff anyways. So
Yeah.
like whatever. And it's good to focus on like, I'm so lucky that I've been steadily employed this whole time and had like an actual career as a ballerina. Like I'm so blessed. Like I'm so lucky to have had that. It's amazing. So that's where you kind of have to go, okay, Presh, like don't be ungrateful. Don't be, you can't control it all. There's and it's not all about me. There's, I work alongside like 65 other people who are also having careers and who are also on their own trajectories. And you know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
and genuinely feeling happy for other people's successes, I think, is a really great emotion to have. And I wasn't always able to access that. There was definitely earlier in my career, I would say probably like 19 to 25, where like, yeah, deep down it was like green envy, and learning to get over that sort of a toxic emotion it takes a lot of work. You have to do a lot of personal work, I think, depending on like your upbringing and what you maybe had like access to, whether it's, for some people it's like their religion helped them to be shaped in a certain way, or for some people it's just, their parents that helped shape them in a certain way. I definitely discovered that I was emotionally immature in some ways, and I think there's a number of things that might have contributed to that. And I think I'm making a massive generalization here, but I think a lot of ballet dancers, or a lot of professional dancers and artists, we can be emotionally immature because we start working so young, so early on. And not in everyone's case, but a lot of us, we might start working at 17 or 18. But we don't go through like that university period, or like, so that our education might actually take a pause or stop after high school. So I think there's there's a certain amount of like emotional maturing that doesn't necessarily happen.
Yeah.
But it's like, oh, you're getting paid to do this, and you're having, and you're, and I'm like, I'm at home so upset because I wasn't casted as Clara or whatever. And it's just like, yeah, it takes, and if you don't leave the bubble to kind of discover that it's like, that's ridiculous, and like you have to grow up a little bit, you can stay in the mindset of a 16-year-old and wake up and be 45, So I think it all goes back to striking that balance, and kind of you have to step outside the bubble a little bit, because it will also really benefit you when you step outside the ballet bubble. When you come back into the ballet bubble, it will benefit you 10 times over. Like it will really, really benefit you. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think it's so hard, especially, there are dancers who, for example, train at maybe the Royal Ballet School from 11, and they stay throughout the whole school into the company till they're like 40. And it's tough because, yeah, we don't have that almost life experience, we don't go out, we don't party, we don't do anything fun,
Yeah.
So we have to almost force ourselves to rewire our brain to allow ourselves to go out and enjoy experiences, because I think we punish ourselves a lot and think to ourselves, oh, I can't possibly do that because that means I'm not trying hard enough, or I'm not really dedicated.
Not committed. Yeah.
Yeah. So no, I totally agree. And I'm so glad that hearing that from you as well, that's where you're at or how you've evolved, because I think that's really healthy.
Yeah.
You've stayed at ENB and, you're still there, obviously, for a long time. And unlike your training where you moved around, what's kept you in this one place that's really...
It's the people.
Yeah.
Of course. Yeah. It's the friendships. And we always, at least like historically, ENB was kind of like known for being this really crazy tough company, because we would do so many performances. Before the pandemic, we would do over 130 shows a year. And if you were core or first artist or soloist, you were on stage every performance, every single show. If you weren't injured, you were on stage for every show. So like it made you tough, and you were kind of going through you were in the trenches with your colleagues. So there's like trauma bonding there that is just it goes deep. I think like when if you do like 60 shows of Nutcracker back to back or something, it's like there's a bonding there, there's understanding, and there's like a connection that you have like with your colleagues and your friends that's like really special. And so that's definitely kept me there. The people always say it was like the family vibe at ENB, but I think it's true. It's when things can be like really tough, or you have so many shows that like you do know people on that level. And I think there's definitely like certain times everything's there's like waves and like peaks and troughs and ebbs and flows to it, but generally more or less it's always been a place that was like the dancers were like a family and like a real tight unit.
You've been through, how many directors have you been through at ENB?
2 now. Yeah.
2. What would you say, in your opinion, marks a good director for a company?
I don't even know if I'm like the right person to answer this, because I've only danced in one company.
Yeah. What have you enjoyed from someone's leadership?
I like it which I'm so lucky, like both my directors have been so great, but they really try to make everyone feel valued, and to make sure that across all the ranks, and anyone who's performing and anyone who's on stage, to just remember and know that like you are important, and the people in the audience, it's their first time coming to see this show. It's their first time seeing. You have to think of it that way, that they're all seeing us for the first time. It might be your 40th show of Nutcracker, or what, insert Swan Lake, any performance that we were doing. It might be the 40th show, but you have to take it like it's the first. And so that was something that I'm so lucky that they always kind of like reinforced that mindset and that thinking. Like, you just have to remember that the people who paid for the ticket tonight, they're seeing it for the first time. So like it's fresh, and you're important, and anyone could be watching, like looking at you at any given moment. So I think that really helps you to maintain like a sense of dignity and pride with whatever you are doing. Which is, it's important. It's a part of it. And I think it's just something that should just never be lost, because I think it's easy for people to really value the principal dancer, or to just really value, oh, the show was, it's made by the principal dancer's show. Whether or not the principal had a good show makes or breaks the
Right.
performance. And actually, one of the best things I've come to learn is when I invite friends of mine who are seeing ballet for the very first time, who don't know anything about it, and getting their feedback and knowing what they are watching and what they're looking at. They are not looking at the same thing we are looking at.
No.
Like at all. They really do. They do not see the stuff we see. And, you know, we could say, oh, the trained eye, or, you know, anyone who's a ballet fanatic is going to be looking at something more, kind of the similar things that we're looking at, you know, like technique or artistic, like, you know, all these things. But the untrained eye, which in E&B's case, 80% of our audience are first time goers to the ballet.
Oh, wow.
Where it's the inverse at the Royal. 80% of, more or less, this is what I've heard. More or less, it's the inverse. 80% of their audience members are repeat, like, you know, season
or the members.
goers. Yeah. People who go regularly, who really follow the dancers quite closely, or on social media and stuff. Like, it's around 80% of their audience members are repeat goers, and 80% at E&B are first time goers. So, which is actually, it's a really, I think, I love like data and stuff.
Yeah.
But I think it's a really important data point to know, because again, then when you think about it, it's like, oh my God, I'm so tired. It's the 40th show of Nutcracker. And it's like, no. 80% of the audience, they're seeing ballet for the first time. And it's like, you have the potential to like spark their interest in the art form and like fall in love with it, you know? And then if I take that 40th show and I'm like, oh my God, this art form is so great, I love it, and like give that energy to it, like people see that, they really do. And that's, again, like I was saying to people who are coming for the first time, when my friends tell me like what they saw or what they were looking at, they are literally seeing their see like energy, they see execution, because oftentimes these people are used to maybe watching a sport or something, so like they're really looking at confidence of execution. They're looking at the energy that whoever they zone in on, and that could be the court person at the back, it could be the child, it could be the person doing the child role, it could be the actor doing the walk-on role, it could be the principal dancer, but their eyes is moving around and zoning in on different people at different moments. They're not just watching the principal the whole time.
No.
They see energy, they see execution. It's so interesting to know.
Probably really motivates you, keeps your motivation up.
It does, yeah. And I think continuing to find that out for yourself, I think as a performer, as an artist, talk to your friends, talk to your mom, Dad, what did you notice at the show? What did you see? What did you like? What did you not like? And like, just collect that information, because it'll inspire every show that you do, and you'll think about your next show a little differently, knowing that they really loved this or they really loved that.
E&B is such a touring company, you know, you tour a lot.
Yeah.
Tell me about that experience, like how you keep your body healthy when you're constantly not in your usual environment and routine. That must be challenging.
Oh my, it's so hard. It's something that I've had to learn along the way. And I've gotten it wrong a few times, but actually something I wanted to bring up. I recently started working with this wonderful woman, or partnering up with her, Karen Sheriff. She was a physical therapist for years with Royal Ballet School, and I think with the company as well. So she's a part of their medical team. Yeah. Which I think now they have like a really huge medical team. But she's broken away to start this project that she's gotten funding for. It's called REDS, Relative Energy Deficiency. And she's going to just be handling like the REDS in dance. So relative energy deficiency in dance. But there's already a lot of research that's been done for relative energy deficiency in sports, because it's really common with endurance athletes. There's like loads of resources out there, and she's building up the resources specific to dancers. And for whether you're a teacher, a parent, a dancer, you'll have an avenue to go down where you can go and look at information for this. And I'm so excited to be a part of it, because it's just a different lens, and it's a very science-backed lens at looking at how essentially we are like long-term endurance athletes. And you know, depending on the show or the ballet or the choreography, it can use more, it can be less of an endurance sport and more of a high impact
sprint almost.
Yeah. It also can be different if you're a boy, if you're a man in the art form, which REDS can present in women and men. where, you know, they're doing loads of jumping, lifting, da da da. And for women, it can be a huge like endurance thing. And it's how kind of sustained over the course of your career, you can be in the state of just your energy deficiency. You're not fueling yourself properly. And it's something I needed her to explain to me scientifically. Like, well, what's the difference between like, you know, like disordered eating or having an eating disorder and REDS? And she was like, well, this has it's a much longer term when you can kind of be in this state for a long time and just kind of struggle with injuries on and off and kind of not know. And you're like, I do eat, but you're not eating properly and you're not fueling correctly at the right times to support your body. And
so is your body like to some degree burnt out for
yeah,
a long time?
Ultimately it leads to like extreme burnout.
Yeah.
And it can, and it's kind of looking universally at the whole body, you know, the mind and the body, and not just saying, oh, it's a eating, you know, it's not just, oh, it's an eating disorder.
No.
And it's something that's really common with, yeah, like I said, like long distance runners, who can struggle with it, leads to burnout. And so this is another area where I'm like, there's like a huge gap in my knowledge and a little bit in my training. And I know like so much is being done now in ballet schools and academies and these institutions to start educating people a lot earlier on to prevent, you know, just like health issue, like just long-term health issues. And it doesn't always just show up as, oftentimes it can be like bone injuries and stuff, but, yeah, it's serious fertility issues that a lot of ballerinas end up struggling with, or bone issues that are just really serious bone issues where your bone density never reaches its full, you don't reach your full bone density. And again, it's because the art form loves, it loves, you know,
extreme thinness,
the infantilization of the dancer. It's part of the art form, and it's a lot to, I've had to like re-educate myself and rewire my own brain, how I think about my body, how I feel about my body. So her and I have talked a lot about it, and I'm so happy to be an ambassador as a part of it, because I think it's something our nutritionist at EMB has been talking to us a lot around, like body composition and trying to alter your body composition. And there are ways to really do it in a really healthy way. But if you get if you get it wrong, and which is oftentimes where like you think you watch some video on Instagram of some diet or something. It's just, it's that sort of dieting and stuff is not for us. We are athletes. And if you're doing, you know, several performances in a week, your hormone levels, cortisol, your stress levels, the adrenaline that's coursing through your blood and through your veins, it's having actually like this huge impact on your overall health. And yeah, fueling properly, it's so important. And allowing, again, like the ebb and flow to happen through your training is something that a lot of other sports have already known about this for a long time.
We're quite behind.
And we can be quite behind. But we can take a lot of that information. And again, this goes back to striking that balance. You can't actually be at even your peak best. You can't actually maintain that through the whole year after year. It's actually impossible, because what your peak body for like a performance, and if you think about it like the Olympics or something, and whatever that might look like, that and an Olympic athlete, they wouldn't stay like that for the whole 4 years. They would be thinking, how do I achieve perfection, my absolute best in 4 years for that moment? And so that's what, for example, at EMB, our sports science team is trying to help individual dancers prepare for. So if you're the principal dancer, you get your season casting for the whole year. And so, you know, you're going to have like this peak, a dip, a peak, a dip, you know, at these points in the year. And that's what you're going to be, that's how you're going to be training, because it's kind of the healthiest way to allow your body to rest. You need to recover a little bit, and then you can ramp it up again. And you can, you know, maybe trim down a little bit if you're going to slim down for that Forsyth show or for that thing that's like that leotard ballet or whatever. But there's a really specific way to do it, and you can't, like a crash diet's not going to cut it, because you'll get injured.
I think that there is that pressure of, we have to stay in this particular shape all year round, all the time. You know, in ballet companies, we're hardwired to like think we must work like almost the whole year completely back to back, the same amount of effort and energy. There has been talks, you've kind of triggered the recent thing I heard recently, where someone was saying that they believe that ballet companies should work in seasons.
Yeah.
Where we train, I think they were saying, do we even need ballet class every day? Does it need to be this intense all the time?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any thoughts or opinions on this?
Oh yeah, totally.
Tell me.
I used to really believe, oh my God, ballet class, full ballet class every single day, 6 days a week. I think it depends on, again, if you're a student training, it really will look different because you're not performing as often.
Right.
You probably have 2 chunks of performances for like a number of days. Like maybe you'll participate in like the winter show or the Nutcracker, and then you're gonna have like some end of year graduation show or spring performance or something. Like that's it. So you're really working differently, and you're building up your training, your technique, and you're building something up. So that's really, really different from also you're in a different point in your development as well. And again, I'm not a nutritionist, I'm not a sports scientist, so this is all stuff like, you can direct people to resources or get other people in for proper interviews to go more in depth on this stuff. But we're in a different place when you're an adult working in a company. We're doing different work. I'm in a different point in my development as well. I'm more or less at this point I'm 30. So yeah, I'm fully developed. I think my bone density is where it's supposed to be. I'm fully grown. My technique, my understanding of my technique is in a different place from when I was 12, 16, 18. So, and the use of my technique is really different. It's much more intentional. So I don't need to jump in class every single day. It's actually, and again, this is something that Karen Sheriff, the physical therapist, that they're really looking at now, is that jumping actually, it's like a runner. It actually is breaking down your body. And if you don't have the muscles to support you doing it, you're really actually you're causing harm, like more harm than good. So and depending on how intentional you are about what you're jumping, how your body feels. Did you have a performance the night before? Do you have a performance this evening? Do you need to jump in class? You're gonna need to assess whether that's a good idea. It might not actually be what your body needs.
Yeah,
because you're in the middle of Nutcracker season. So yeah, I think really judging off of what is expected of you, what is expected of your body is really important. Training correctly, making sure that do you feel strong jumping or do you feel weak jumping? That means that you need to go to the gym and you need to get a little more muscle to support you. It's such an interesting thing that I've been
And do you think
discovering.
that, I'm not sure whether in time the whole schedule will change for dancers, where it's actually implemented that, oh guys, we don't do class today, we do your own self warm-up or something. But do you feel that the directors are kind of very open to people doing their own thing when they need it? Or has there been any kind of resistance to not doing, full class all the time?
I think because there's all this information is coming out, I think directors are much more clued into, if the physio team, the sports science team is suggesting this, I think everyone's kind of waking up to, oh, we can actually prevent a lot more injuries if we just shift stuff a little bit, change things a little bit. I think when you're younger, you need more guidance, of course. And that's when, and that's oftentimes when you get kind of, it's earlier on in your career, you kind of get like injuries because you didn't really, you didn't know exactly like what you're doing. You were trying to diet in the wrong way, or you weren't ready for the workload to change so much, because usually the workload from student to professional kind of goes like this, and it can be a huge strain on some people's bodies until you learn to manage it. And then obviously when you're more experienced and an older dancer, your director can trust you to know what your body needs to deliver your shows, because you're older, you're more experienced, you've been through some stuff, it's great to, I think it's one of the best ways, I've always felt the best when I feel like my coaches, my teachers, my director trust me. I think it's such a great, I think it's the best thing for like the dynamic in the relationship when you feel like they trust you, because it helps reinforce your trust in yourself. But that wasn't always the case. I think ballet's evolved to a place where people are realizing they can't micromanage, they can't, that they have to let people also make their own mistakes as well.
Yeah.
That's also a part of it. Yeah.
So now, going back to you on tour, do you feel that you've established now your kind of blueprint of looking after your body whilst you're on tour that works for you?
Yeah. I think I've become much more intuitive, which is, again, something I wanted to talk to Karen Sheriff about. I was like, well, how much of it is intuitive? How much of it do you have to use a prescribed system for how to handle things. And for everybody, it's a little bit different. I think obviously the more you know in terms of like, if you've learned something new. I know now if I feel fatigued or I feel tired, I don't need to force myself to finish class if I feel fatigued, knowing that I'm in the middle of my Nutcracker season. Whereas when I was 19, I would have done that.
That might be down to you just maturing as well emotionally.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Which is again, it was a hard mindset shift for me to make, because there are still days when I'm like, I might not feel great, and I'm like, but I need to finish. I don't like, should finish, and to go, no pressure. Actually, like, if you're either physically fatigued or like mentally, if I'm having a hard time for, whatever, going through a breakup or something, and it's like, girl, like, it's okay. Like, you don't have to be on all the time. Like, and sometimes it's better to step aside. Don't let them see you. Don't force yourself to stay and struggle. And then they have your coach or your boss or whatever, they have an image of you like not doing well.
Yeah.
And because you forced yourself to stay and stick it out instead of, saying thank you so much, and just take it easy that day and give yourself grace. You can rock it out tomorrow and show up and be awesome tomorrow. I think knowing when to give yourself grace and step aside, and when you need to push and like work hard. Discovering that intuition it takes experience. It takes time. Yeah.
Yeah. I want to talk to you a little bit about injuries and how you've dealt with that. Have you had any
I've had
bad injuries?
Yeah. I've been really lucky. Touch wood.
Touch wood.
I've had a couple. I had a really bad ankle sprain where I tore a few ligaments earlier on in my career with E&B, and that was, it was like one of my first big breaks doing Forsyth program, and it was like in the opening night show.
Yeah.
And I was like, I was not eating properly, and I was cutting when I was trying to push my body to like my max performance level. Why was I trying to restrict my eating? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, I know that of course I'm not going to deliver my peak performance, and that was a huge wake up call for me.
Was that from you, the restriction?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because I think I thought, oh, it's opening, like, to get this chance and opening. You get these ideas in your head, and it's just from, I think it's just from like it was just bad programming from the ballet world and like at large,
Right.
of thinking I'll get better reviews. They'll love me more
if I look like this,
if I'm skinnier. And it's like, so that whole experience, going from like feeling like I was like, everything was aligned, like the stars were aligned. I felt like I was doing my best dancing. I got a great opportunity. My casting was like good. It turned out that I was going to do the opening night, and it feels like, oh, this is my big break. And to go from 100 to 0, for it to like that to just be taken away from you, it was a huge wake up call. And I matured a lot through that experience, because I realized, again, it was like the toxic body image, eating stuff just took me out.
Yeah.
And took me out for a long time. And
how was that for you, dealing with that?
It was so hard. It was devastating. I remember, I didn't get out of bed for like a day, and then I like didn't like leave the flat for like 3 days. And then finally I, went to work, and I think I like made banana bread and could come sit side stage and support everyone afterwards. But like I just remember it was like devastating, because it was really going from 100 to 0. And I think now, through the course of all of that, I think that's when you really learn. That's when I started to learn, like, I can't be so hard on myself, and how can I expect myself to give my best performance and be starving myself at the same time, or be like restricting at the same time. And that's why Karen Sheriff and I was like, I would love to be an ambassador, because I know what it's like. Like, and again, it's it was very intentional, directed, like dieting, or and I still think that I'm fueling well, but I'm in an energy deficiency. That means that I'm not as sharp. No. It means I'm not as strong if you're not eating enough protein, like little things like that, eating too much junk or whatever, and thinking you can live off of sugar or whatever, it's just being unhealthy. And it's it was a little wake up call. So that was huge. And then I've only had, and then one other big injury. I tore my gluteus, glute max, or was it my glute med? I think it was my glute max.
Yeah, that must hurt.
It was, yeah. The physios were totally like, we've never seen this before.
How did you do that?
How did that happen? It's the biggest. I think it's like the rope of like the biggest muscle in your body, and I tore it. It was, so I remember that day there was this shoot planned for Nowness.
Oh yeah, very cool.
Planned in the morning. So there's this whole thing for Nowness in the morning, and then there was like a show in the evening. So pretty much I didn't do class that day. And I just did like my own warm up. But I remember feeling rushed and like I didn't have enough time, and it was just so I didn't do class, didn't have a proper warm up. I think I did like my own bar before the show, and it was like contemporary stuff. And and sorry, in the 2 weeks leading up to that show, I knew my hip was getting really, really tight because of, it was like 2 weeks of shows and it was like the end of the run.
Right.
So it was getting tighter and tighter, and I just didn't have time, and I didn't set aside the time to go to physio because what I needed was some really deep tissue release work. And I needed to be rolling out more and lying on a ball, but I wasn't really huge on like pressure point, like release work, and I wasn't clued in on it yet. So I knew my hip was getting really tight, and like literally like my knee wouldn't, like sitting in a pigeon, like my right leg was sitting like up like this. It was so tight. Either way, doing the contemporary thing, and I think you jump and land in a pigeon, and like I just heard it go like paper tearing.
Oh my God.
And I couldn't like, I remember I just hobbled off stage. Yeah, that one was, it wasn't as devastating, but I was kind of like, oh, like if you put too much on your plate and you don't do things properly, you don't set aside the time to take care of yourself, it will catch up with you at some point or another.
Yeah, and you learn lessons from every injury, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure you came back wiser and more knowledgeable of how you should look after yourself.
Yeah.
And going back to the identity thing, probably in those periods you learned more about yourself as well as a human as well.
Yeah.
With your time at English National Ballet, you've done so many different repertoire, from Forsyth, Pina Bausch, and then all the classics. Do you have a particular favorite you like to dance?
Yeah, Forsyth is still like my favorite choreographer. Let me think, who else do I love? I really like David Dawson's work as well. I just think it's really beautiful, and I think my idea of like the embodiment of like modern grace and like what the art form, like what I think like the art form could be like in the 21st century, something that's so beautiful but still athletic, really showing the human form at kind of like its peak. I think they both produce like such beautiful work.
Do you prefer neoclassical over like the classics?
No, not necessarily. I like both.
Yeah.
I really like neoclassical stuff. I really like classical stuff as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As you are obviously now first soloist, and you're doing more of these amazing roles, how has your approach, or has it at all changed, your approach to a role when you're told, okay, Precious, you're going to be dancing this? How would you then approach that for the first time?
I mean, I'm still totally a people pleaser at heart.
Yeah.
But I think as you get older, you have more sometimes of like your own ideas of what you want to bring, and I think it's all about the way that you kind of offer up your artistic idea of something, and then it's a yes or a no, and oftentimes though I think nowadays people are so much more clued in with like how to suggest something else if they really don't want you to, they don't like your idea.
Yeah.
I think everyone's a little bit more clued in with how to nicely suggest that you just stick to how it is, honey.
Yeah.
Instead of like totally crushing your dreams and like shutting you down or whatever.
Yeah.
I think it's a lot more collaborative how people communicate with each other now. And again, this is where I think your mindset and having your own agency, you're not going to be so offended. And so you're not going to take it so personally and be so offended if the stager or the coach, says, no, please stick with the, how, with how it is, you're not going to, I think if you're really secure within yourself, it's not going to be a big deal. It's not going to be a big drama.
Yeah.
I think if you've evolved, and again, if you've struck enough balance in your life and you've had enough experiences outside ballet, you'll realize it's really not that big a deal, and it's not that deep, and it's not that personal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You've mentioned how you're quite outspoken. You know, you have your opinions, which is great.
Yeah.
And relatively, I can't remember exactly when, but you mentioned how you don't want to wear pink tights anymore, and you want to
Oh.
wear your skin colored tights
Yeah.
to match your shoes. Was that like hard for you to bring up in the first place, or did you just feel like this needs to change? I want to be doing this instead now.
Yeah.
I think it's great, by the way.
Oh, thanks. No, and actually, like my I think I was like quoted saying that in like an interview for Evening Standard, and I was kind of like, well, technically I should never wear pink tights, and it would only make sense for me to wear brown tights, I think is like what I was like quoted saying, which fundamentally, technically, I still believe that to be true, just in terms of like what tights and what they are and what it's like align, what you look like, da 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 da. However, that being said, it's not all about me, and it's not all about like an individual. So certain ballets, I do think it is absolutely valid and appropriate, like for me to wear like white tights and white shoes, or or pink tights and pink shoes or whatever, if it goes with the flow of the production or with the group or whatever. I think both are equally valid. But I am still very much, and I think luckily like the whole ballet world has caught up, that it's I think it's really beautiful and awesome that people wear skin tone tights because it looks good on them. Yeah. And it's like, and again, it's like there's space for everyone to look their best and to be their full image of their most beautiful self. Yeah. In in the space and be a part of it still in the same way. I think there's space for everything, but again, like none of it's that deep, and I think it's great.
Yeah, no, I think it's
Sorry, I did not answer your question. You asked me, was it hard to bring it up? Sorry. Went off on like a whole tangent.
No, that was great.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't difficult though. No.
Well, I think because you're strong-minded, and you say it how it is. And
I think like this is another thing that's really important for me. I don't want to like talk about. There's like some other article that was like written that I didn't like quote or interview or anything, but this like news organization really wanted to paint me as being like super like combative and difficult, and as like a real rebel. They really painted like this totally different image of me, and I was like, it was quite it really hurt to see myself like painted this way. And I think they like found some image of me like from some contemporary dance where I was like like mid shot. I don't know where they found this photo. Yeah. And it was like, dancer refuses to wear pink tights. And I was like, that's like absolutely not how anything went. That's not at all it. I was like, I got promoted, and I had a conversation with my boss at the time, Tamara, and it was literally a conversation of, it was like, Tamara, can I ask you why are tights pink? Da-da-da. And I was like, what do you think about me wearing brown tights sometimes in performances? And she's like, oh, I think that's a great idea. She's like, we'll see with the productions and the shows and the costumes and the designers. And she's like, sometimes I think it'll be, a yes. And sometimes I think you'll wear pink tight. It'll be pink tights still, da-da-da. And then, and like, it was literally just like this, it was literally like a conversation the way anyone in any other job would, have a dialogue like with their boss and say, what do you think about this? Oh, okay. It's a yes and it's a no. We'll see. Do you know what I mean? It's like, okay, cool. And like, that was it. But it was like seen as like so defiant to ask a single question. But I think it's super important for people to be able to, and this is where I think like ballet can be a little archaic sometimes, because I think it's important at the right time and in the right context and with the right tone for people to say, oh, I see this, I see that, I think this. Like, of course it's valid for people to bring things up, and to be able to communicate, because it's a silent art form, and I think it's really something new with the onset. I think with social media and everything, that dancers now have their own voices, because everybody has their own platform. Everyone can show their life and show and depict themselves, online, and with the rise and fall of all of that. because like these things do die out eventually and things change, and but it's important for people to be able to communicate in a healthy way,
Yeah.
you know.
I think it's really inspiring, like people like yourself who are making these little changes, in the ballet world, because it did need to change. We can't keep it completely the same as it was 100 years ago with these ideas or opinions. Do you have any thoughts or opinions where you'd want to see ballet in 10 years' time, or do you think it's on a good trajectory now?
Oh yeah. I mean the change and the progress I've seen overall, um, within like the art form throughout like the organizations, I think is incredible, and it's made so much progress, and I think it's on the absolutely on the right trajectory. And um, ballet's doing so. I think it's just doing so well, and will continue to do so well, and just garner like loads of like interest and people enjoying performances still and going to shows. I think there's always like a little bit of a fear of like, is it gonna die out? Are people gonna stop going to the theater? Um, and yeah, like I just have no doubt that we're on the right path. I think now people really realize that the art form is dancers are so hard on themselves, and they really just need support to do well. It just requires support, and I think um, like incredible artists will always come through the companies, and there will always be people who are attracted to the art form who want to work really hard. So I don't think like that will ever be an issue. I think sometimes people worry like um I think I often hear this from like older generations. They're like worried that like TikTok and like Instagram and stuff and is gonna like totally ruin the art form, or like cheapen it or something. And I don't think that's like gonna happen at all. I think it just continues to spread the beauty of the art form around to a wider audience. And but yeah, I think if I was to do things a little differently, I think I would just continue to offer just support to the dancers in all the different ways that like they need support on their journey. And I think the people who are older, like myself, I love kind of taking on a bit of a, I don't want to say like maternal, but um I love offering advice or helping out the younger new dancers who come into the company. And I think that's one of the most important parts of this art form, is it was always passed down from
Yeah.
like teacher to student for like 400 years or like 250 years. Like it was always really passed down that way. And so like all those little like nuggets that you get from like relationships and friendships, it is still about like community and people who love it. So I think sharing knowledge with your colleagues or with
Mm.
younger colleagues, and then the people who are in positions of leadership, I think keeping that intact, I think, is the most important thing that I would want to keep alive, is the kind of like wholesome community aspect of the art form that like brings us all together, is like the love of it. And
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's just like really important to continue to just like be sharing knowledge,
Yeah.
sharing what you know, sharing your passion and your love for it. Yeah, as long as that stays alive, I think we're on the right path.
Yeah, that's really inspiring. If I was a young student going into the company for the first time, that would really reassure me, having someone like yourself make us feel welcome and teaching us the ropes, really. What advice leading into this, what advice would you have for young dancers who are maybe training or starting their career?
um I think for a younger dancer, my advice I think would be to to always do it for yourself and do it for the audience. I think the more you stay in that mindset that you are doing it for your love of the art form and not to please someone else or get the gratification from an external source, you you then hold on to the joy, and you don't give that power away for someone else to dictate whether or not you're doing well, or whether or not you're um um good enough or beautiful enough, or the right one for the role, or to get the accolades and the praise. I think you give all of that power away when you try to please someone else or do it for them.
Yeah.
um I think you're already enough, and I think as long as you believe that and you just stay true to yourself, and of course, like work hard and focus, and you can go as far as you want to go, but yeah, do it for your love of it and because you enjoy it, and don't give that power away to anyone else.
Yeah, that's really lovely. What's next for you, Precious? What are you up to most immediately? And do you know already what you're going to be doing next season?
I know a little bit about what's happening next season. I actually don't know like if I'm allowed to talk about everything yet, because I know sometimes it's
Needs to be a surprise.
sometimes it's a surprise, or they've not like announced all the details yet. But there are some new creations, and one of them, it's a choreographer who is the choreographer for like one of the biggest pop stars in the world.
Oh my God.
And we had like a workshop with him a few days ago, and I had so much fun. Like I just loved it. So I'm really excited for that. That's happening in the spring of next year. So there's going to be a new creation. I don't know if I'm allowed to say anything else beyond that. It's just like, yeah, super vague. But what else? Yeah, I'm just like living life, I guess. I don't know.
You're on holiday now.
I'm on holiday now. I'm going to go to Bermuda and do a little bit of dancing there, and then just spend time with my family afterwards. Do a little bit of traveling, and then I'm buying a flat here, which
exciting.
Excuse me, when I get back, we have the completion date to get keys, and I'll finally get my new flat, which I'm excited about. But I'm also kind of like, I don't know if home ownership is really like the way to go, the way forward. But it'll be nice to have my own house. And
it's yours. You can paint the walls.
Yeah, I can do what I want, and so that'll be cute. So I'm excited for that. I think a part of just my own sense of like doing something for myself, and it's kind of the fruit of my labor from like the past 10 years to be able to save up and make an investment for myself as like a single woman is very empowering. So so that's kind of like the most exciting thing that's happening in my life.
That is exciting. Yeah. That's huge.
And then like I said, it's every day I get to go into work and just have a great time. Dancing and being with my colleagues and my friends and stuff is a good day. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think you've got an amazing head on your shoulders, and you've had it since the beginning. You know, this strong vision and strong sense of self, which obviously has developed over the years as you've gotten more experienced and more mature, as we all do. But hearing your balance as well in your mindset and just how you approach life, and you value social occasions and social interactions with different interesting people, and your approach to your work is really interesting and really inspiring. So thank you so much for speaking with me today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I think you're going to help a lot of people, and yeah, I really hope they enjoy this conversation as much as I have. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast, Precious.
Thanks.
Thank you.